And Erica, you're still sharing, right?
I guess. You have no choice, lady.
I know, I'm the only person that knows how to do this.
Sharing is good, Erica.
Sharing is good.
Sharing is caring.
Oh,
Christine,
no.
can you mention at the beginning that it'll be recorded and posted like the other one?
Yes, yes, I will. I actually have to go get my plug. Right. I'm gonna die.
And we just want them doing the Q&A, right? We don't want them necessarily chatting.
Yeah, I turned
Yes.
the chat off. It's only available to panelists so that
Perfect.
if we have a technical problem.
That was rough this morning.
I was like trying, please don't answer
I
questions, don't
know.
ask questions in there.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And please
They were
don't answer the
excited.
questions. I know they were excited. They were great. They were go-getters, man.
Yep.
I have my tiny human behind me, so she may come begging for snacks.
Okay, we should be ready to go. Christy, do you let them in?
They just
No, They
came
just
in.
come in when it's
Okay.
a webinar.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Panelists can use the chat to send a message, but just so you know, when you put a message there, anybody who wasn't in the Zoom at that time won't see it. So you might wait until 5 or 10 minutes if you want to share information that way. And then you would make sure that you chose panelists and attendees when you put that in that link spot.
Got it.
We'll wait a few more minutes.
I haven't seen much movement. Mrs. Doyle, I wonder if we should start.
Yes. Okay, Erica, if we want to pop up the PowerPoint.
We want to introduce ourselves first.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Sorry, Erica.
It's okay.
Okay, well, welcome, 8th grade parents. We are looking forward to seeing your children hopefully next year as incoming 9th graders. My name is Christy Doyle. I am one of the 4 counselors at the high school. and I assist students whose last names begin KO through RI, and I will let the other ladies introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Brandy Jacobs. I assist students with last names A through E.
Hi, I'm Erica Morel, and I assist students with the last name F through KN.
I am Karen Wagner, and my alphabet is RO to Z.
Okay, and then we also have our principal, Kit Moran, who's joining us tonight and is available to help answer questions parents might have at the end. We are recording this webinar and it will be posted on our DHS website. In fact, your students who came, which we had great attendance earlier at 10 o'clock, the 8th grade students joined us, and their webinar, which is very similar to the parent webinar, is posted, both will be posted on the website. And in fact, the 8th grade student presentation is already up, so you will be able to access those. Okay, Erica, now we can actually hit the slides. Okay, so here is the Dexter High School. These are important contact numbers. And obviously I introduced Mr. Moran, our principal, and his contact information. We have 2 assistant principals, Mr. Koenig and Mrs. Walls. Our counseling department, which we introduced ourselves in the very beginning, but also wanted to point out our counseling secretary, who is Megan Ford. So sometimes if there's a quick question parents or students have, and obviously students, hopefully next year we'll be able to come into the counseling office and make appointments through Mrs. Ford. And then we have the athletic department, which is Mike Bavanaugh and his athletic secretary, Judy Stoll, and also just giving the attendance line information for the main office. Okay, so starting off, like we talked to the kids earlier, this is what it takes to graduate 4 years from now with your class. These are the graduation requirements for Dexter High School for the class of 2021 and beyond. Starting with English, all of your students will take English 9 next year. And that will actually be blocked with American history. So all 9th graders will be in English 9 and American history. Sophomore year, the English requirement is World Lit and Comp and World Lit and Speech, which is a full credit of English for the year. And then we discuss with them in 11th and 12th grade that you will have a little more, they will have a little more freedom to choose their English classes. And this is where students, if they have a love for English, might start taking some AP IB courses, or of course, just the standard upper level Lit and Comp 11 and 12. But they do need 4 full credits of English to graduate. They also need 4 credits of math. And those credits are pretty specific. They have to have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, or an approved CTE, which is our consortium program. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but the consortium program does not start until 11th grade. So we normally do a presentation to our 10th graders, and Saline High School comes over and presents their programs. But those are programs that are usually more hands-on, like culinary arts, cosmetology, auto tech, welding. So they will have a presentation in 10th grade to learn more information regarding that. But those programs, some of them do cover the Algebra 2 credit for math. And then the 4th credit of math, obviously, depending on your student's math pathway, could be very different. We have pre-calc, we have IB math studies, we have statistics. We'll get into that as they come up through high school, but the 4th credit of math is their choice. A question students asked, a lot of them are bringing up math credit from Mill Creek. So some of your students might be bringing up an algebra credit. Some students might be bringing up algebra and geometry credit. Those credits would be posted to their high school transcript, and they would follow the math sequencing of their teacher recommendation. So we did talk about that. Ms. Morrell will talk about that a little bit more in the next slide, but math in particular, we really want to make sure students have a strong foundation and discuss the next appropriate course with their 8th grade math teacher. For science, they will need 3 credits. The first credit is met in 9th grade, and that's biology. So that's our basis for their next few years of science. Then in 10th grade, they have the choice of chemistry or physics. Students asked if they had to take both. They do not. If they're not a science student, they have a choice to take chemistry or physics. But if they love science, they can, of course, take biology, chemistry, 10th grade, physics in 11th grade. Or for that 3rd credit of science, we have a lot of different science electives like anatomy and physiology. We've added some physics, AP, IB physics, lots of different options for that elective science course. Social studies, they need 3 credits. And like I mentioned before, the first credit of that they are automatically registered for is American history in 9th grade. 10th grade would be world history. And then in 11th grade, well, sometime between 11th and 12th grade, students usually finalize that last credit of social studies, which would be American government and econ. They can take American government and econ are both just semester or half credit courses. However, if they want to take them at the AP level, then they become year-long 1 credit courses. World language is 2 credits, and it must be 2 credits of a consecutive world language. So if they're in Spanish or French right now, currently in 8th grade, they can bring those credits to the high school. And so then they would continue on with the 2nd year. We're encouraging students, if at all possible, if they have not started their world language requirement yet, that they do start that in 9th grade. Because they do need the 2 credits of a world language. There were lots of questions about taking other languages besides Spanish and French, which is a possibility. We have had quite a few students over the last 2 or 3 years who have taken ASL, which is an online program. So we do not have a teacher at Dexter High School who teaches ASL, but they can go through an online vendor to take American Sign Language. Some other students, we've had students take Japanese, lots of different options. If your student is highly motivated, independent, and can handle doing that online language, that's something we can talk about individually with your student. And obviously as a parent, we can have that discussion in the spring. The PE requirement is physical education and health for 1 credit, and their physical education that counts is lifetime fitness or strength and conditioning. And then health and wellness, which is a half a credit. Visual performing and applied arts, that is 1 credit. And we usually ask students at this point in the presentation, how many of them are currently in band, choir, and orchestra and plan on continuing. And we know we have a huge population of kids who will do that. So after freshman year, if they take band, choir, or orchestra, they will have met that 1 credit of visual performing arts. And of course, they can take more if they would like, but the 1 credit minimum. For those students who are not in band, choir, orchestra, we do have quite a few art classes, and we'll be adding some next year. So foundations of art, graphic arts, housing and interior design, those courses will also meet that VPA visual performing arts credit. For the online learning experience, that is not something that you need to worry about as a parent. So sometimes we have parents who think that their student has to take an online course over the summer. That's not the case. The online learning experience is going to be met through Zello. And we are currently, our contract with Naviance is finished, and we're moving on to Zello, which is our career and college readiness program that will be starting with your students next year. And then at the very bottom, you will see that the graduation requirements. Dexter High School students can earn 29 out of 32 possible credits for graduation. As some of you are probably aware, we are planning on moving to block scheduling. So that's why the increase in graduation credits, because we will have an 8-hour day versus a 6-hour day. So that obviously has adjusted our credits.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about the freshman course requests. These are the courses that your freshmen will be able to select in Power School. So we're going to go over these. As Mrs. Doyle said, your student will automatically be registered for English 9A and 9B and American History. As she said, those are taught in a block so that students have kind of a home base sort of situation where they can ask questions and they can get more in depth in the curriculum. All 9th grade students will be taking biology as well. So those 3 classes will already be selected for your student. So where you have some choices are the math pathway. And as Christy said, it's very important that you listen to your students' math teacher and their recommendation. There are several different options for math classes. Your student could be taking pre-algebra, algebra 9, advanced geometry or geometry, and then advanced algebra 2. We've seen that students tend to not be very successful in classes that go against teachers' recommendations. And we want to make sure that students have a very strong foundation, particularly in algebra, because algebra 2 then becomes a bit of a problem if they don't have that foundation. So making sure that they're prepared and ready for that next step in math is very, very important. As Christy said, the world language, we require 2 credits of that for graduation. So if your student hasn't started their world language journey, that would be a good time to start their freshman year. If your student has already taken French 1 and 2 or Spanish 1 and 2, there are a lot of elite universities. For instance, the University of Michigan has said they want to see at least 3 years of a foreign language in the high school setting. So if that is where your student is aiming to go, or if you see those types of schools in your student's future, you want to make sure that they're prepared to continue on in the world languages, as that is needed for admissions in those schools. If you have a kiddo that is interested in writing and loves English, there's a lot of different English electives. We have creative writing, intro to journalism, intro to media lit, popular literature, speech, multimedia journalism, which is newspaper, and yearbook writing. And for the visual, performing, and applied arts, there are a lot of different choices. If you have a band or orchestra or choir student, there are multiple different levels of music classes that they can take. If your student isn't big into singing and music, then we have a lot of different visual arts. There's Foundations of Arts, which is kind of the gatekeeper to advanced drawing and painting and illustration. So if your student wants to continue on in art, they have to make sure they take Foundations of Art first. We have a new digital photography class coming next year. It was kind of a pilot this year and it's been fantastic. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback about what the kiddos are doing. Their pictures are phenomenal. So if your kiddo likes to take pictures with their cell phone, this might be a class to encourage them to take. There's housing and interior design. There's photojournalism, which is a little bit different than digital photography. Your student will learn how to tell a story through pictures. We have video production. There's graphic arts 1 and graphic arts 2. So your student would learn how to do art on a computer. They could design logos and learn how to print and how that works. And then we move on to the physical education and health. The required classes that fulfill the physical education requirement are lifetime fitness, and strength and conditioning. So your student can pick one of those. They're semester long. Or they also need health and wellness for graduation, and that's a semester long course as well. There are some other PE electives if your kid likes to hang out in the gym and exercise. There's aquatics, there's DHS wellness, team and individual sports, yoga and mindfulness. So those are all great electives. And then we have a few other electives that kind of don't fit in any of these other categories. So nutrition and food science, which is cooking and learning how to do meal planning and make a well-balanced meal, and student leadership. I'm gonna move it along.
Awesome. So this page, parents, is for your student, and it's literally a step-by-step of how to register for classes. So these instructions are right through the Power School. Just one second. Thank you, Erica. So basically what they would do is log on to the website that is provided for you right there for number one. Number two, they would use their same username and password they would as of today if they wanted to check their grades. So hopefully they do that on a regular basis so they know this by heart. Once they log in, they click on class registration, which is located on the left side of the page. There's a whole bunch of different tabs on the left side. They find class registration, and then they will go to the course offerings page per their grade level. So obviously they can't register for 11th grade classes if they're a freshman. So that's why that is super important. Each category has a pull down. So in English, even though English 9 is already selected for them, there's a pull down menu in case they may want to take an elective English like Intro to Journalism. So there's a pull down menu for each of the subject areas, as Ms. Morrell just went over. As a freshman, Power School will automatically enroll you into the 3 classes, the English 9, the American History 9, and Biology. So they don't need to select those. Make sure that they choose, once they start choosing their classes, specifically like their math class that they get recommended for, they choose A and B. They need both semesters to do the complete credit for math. So the A and B tells you obviously which semester they are taking that class in. If it just has, like one of the electives is just a B class, that means they can only take that class in the second semester. And I think like multimedia was that one that had like a B after it. All the other ones that are elective classes, like PE, strength and conditioning, foundations of art, there's no A or B after it, which means it's offered both semesters. Make sure that your son or daughter selects 8 elective classes to complete their schedule, 4 of these for each semester. So there is some word out there about us potentially going to a block schedule next year, which would be 8 hours, 4 on one day, 4 on another day. So 4 of those classes out of the 8 are going to be their core classes. The other 4 will be their elective choices. And some of those elective choices kind of are already provided for them, like if they're going to finish their world language credit or they're in a band, orchestra, or choir. Those are going to be electives that they're already planning on taking. So then maybe they wouldn't have as much choice as somebody that didn't plan on taking a music and wanted to go right into an art class or a PE health class. But they do need to select 4 for each semester after they already have their math class selected. After they have made all of their course selections, this is super important. They make their math selection and then they make their other 8 selections. They also need to register for 6 alternates, which means if they don't end up getting strength and conditioning for either semester, even though they requested it, they have to go then to their alternates page, and we would pick the very first alternate that was on their selection list. So they would want to prioritize those 6 alternates in the order in which they would like them to be put in the schedule. This is like maybe sometimes the case for an advanced drawing and painting. Upperclassmen typically take this a lot. If they registered for that and didn't get it, then the next thing on their list is, let's say, housing interior design. Then we would put that in their schedule instead of the advanced drawing and painting. The next very important part of this is make sure they scroll down after they've made all these selections and hit the submit button, because once you get away from the page and don't hit submit, you have to start all over again. And that's not fun. So make sure they go down to the very bottom, hit submit, and then print the page, because we'll get a lot of questions in the spring. I don't remember what I registered for. Can you tell me? Just print the page so they have it, so they know exactly what they registered for and what their alternates were. If a student is unsure about a class, let's say they have no idea what the advanced biochemistry class, that forensic science, if they think it's more of a drama speech class, there's a course description on the Dexter High School website under academics, and there's, you know, directions right there as well, that they can look and read what the class is about. I know a lot of kids want to take anatomy and physiology, and then they get in there like, we actually have to dissect things. And so they're like, yeah, this is not for me. So it's very important, if they're interested in a class, read the course description before they register for it, because it's harder to move them around, because we have a certain amount of requests for each class, and that's how many we end up offering in that next year. So educate themselves on some of the classes that we offer. The deadline for our students to register is March 15th. So it will open tomorrow. However, students probably are not going to get all of their registration done, because they will be waiting on their math recommendation from the teachers. The teachers, I know they said they're working on it this weekend. They're hoping to tell the students on Monday what that looks like for them potentially for the next year. Same thing with world language. They would definitely want a recommendation. Should they repeat if they didn't do so well, or can they go to year 2? So you can look at the list ahead of time. You can look at all the drop-down menus, but by March 15th is when they need to have everything submitted to us, so that we can categorize it and figure out how many classes of each thing that we need, especially with our electives. A student asked earlier, which was a great question, is that it? Like, once I submit, is that all I get and I never get to switch my classes around? No, we do look at class schedule changes at the beginning of in the fall, but it may be harder for them to get into that class, because like I said, we only go by the requests for the students. So if a student doesn't request food and nutrition, we only offer it one semester each semester. They can't get in it because they're both full. They may not be able to get the class that they really want. So it is important to go through all of this information with them.
Brandy, I just found out from Mr. Koenig, and so that parents are aware, and you can tell your students that we are actually not opening up the registration window until February 25th. We're unfortunately not able to meet with our high school students until February 24th. So our assistant principal is just going to open up registration for all students on February 25th. Which once again should be plenty of time. They have until March 15th. And like Ms. Jacobs said, you know, the math teachers are working on their recommendations. That then gives them time to talk, you know, get that recommendation. Also, if they're in a language, to talk with the language teacher about their recommendation. So, you know, in the meantime, they can read through the course descriptions, write down what they want to take, and have that ready to go, so that when it opens up on the 25th, they're prepared. So just a little bit of a change of plan. Sorry, Brandy, I just found out. So
Perfect, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. I am going to, excuse me, move us into our extracurricular activities. And typically we would have you guys actually fill this out as 8th grade parents coming for the students coming into the high school. However, you know, we're not passing papers back and forth, and with the situation of where COVID is. So Mr. Bavanaugh said he's going to be working on an electronic form, but we wanted to let you know what kind of activities are out there. So in the fall, there is boys soccer, girls swim and dive, equestrian, sideline cheer, girls volleyball, football, girls and boys cross country, boys water polo, the dance team, girls golf, boys tennis, and girls field hockey. In the winter, there are girls and boys basketball, wrestling, competitive cheer, boys swim and dive, dance team, and ice hockey. Then in the spring, girls and boys track and field, girls softball, boys lacrosse, girls soccer, boys baseball, girls water polo, boys golf, girls tennis, and then rugby. So look for something coming from Mr. Bavina, our athletic director, to come. And if you don't hear something by like May, June timeframe, getting some information from coaches and whatnot for summer camps or programs, I'm sure that's all to come. So this is our counseling webpage and how to find us, contact information, what's going on as far as college and career planning, SAT testing, maybe even college applications and scholarships. We have all kinds of information on there. So as you go to dexterschools.org, you would select Dexter High School, and then we have a counseling tab right in the middle of the page. And then again, our deadline is going to be March 15th. And you may access and re-enter a million times, but as you hit that submit, then you have to contact us as counselors to make any changes at that time so that we can work through that. At this time, we do have a couple questions. If you wanted to take AP Physics at some point, would they take regular physics in 10th and then AP Physics in 11th or 12th? And the answer would be, it depends on the student in what order that might happen. But typically it would be physics first, and then it would be a recommendation for the AP. And we want to make sure people are successful in that course. So we would build on their skills at that time.
I did have a couple students this year get recommended from their biology teacher last year to take the AP Physics this year as a sophomore. It's a very rare case, but it can happen, but they do need that recommendation from their science teacher from this year to then take AP Physics 1 next year. So that, I mean, if that's helpful too. When do the kids get their math recommendations from their teachers? They're working on it this weekend is what we were told this afternoon. So I would assume next week sometime they would be able to get that recommendation. If for some reason they want to go against their teacher recommendation, which we don't always recommend, they would have actually fill out a contract sheet that says they're going against the recommendation of their 8th grade teacher, and that they would have to wait till semester time if they did not do well in the class that they chose. They would have to wait till semester time, regardless of grade, in order to move down to a different level if that's what happened. So that is for the math.
One question, where do we find the course descriptions? That was on the course registration page, the directions to get to that. But basically it is on the Dexter High School website. And then we have a counseling tab, and you will find
academics tab.
Oh, academics, sorry.
Yeah, it's on the, it's weird why it's on the academics tab, but it's on the academics tab.
Yeah.
It's the first one you come to.
And then you can actually read the course descriptions. Another question I wanted to go over is clubs and activities. We also put that, actually one of our students created some videos and slideshow of the clubs and activities that are offered at the high school. That is found on the Dexter High School website, but it is under student life. So when they go under that, they can see the clubs and activities available next year. Typically, we have a club day, which is about 2 weeks into the start of the school year, where the different clubs have tables in the cafeteria. They, students can walk around, ask questions about different clubs, and get information on joining that.
Yeah, Christy, can I just jump in real quick that the current page that the kids might find if that the one of our students just created is clubs and activity in our hybrid COVID world. So that gives them an idea about what is offered, but when they get to 9th grade next year, like Ms. Doyle said, hopefully in person, kids will have an opportunity to shop around and find all the extracurriculars besides the athletics that they can do. Thanks.
Another question is, are freshmen able to take AP courses? That is not typical. Most of our freshmen do not take AP courses. If you believe your child, may be advanced in a certain subject area, we could definitely have a conversation and talk with their 8th grade teacher, but it is not typical for freshmen to take AP courses. Because we are possibly moving to block scheduling in 10th grade, they will be able to take hopefully some AP courses. Not all of them will be offered to 10th graders, but there will be some course offerings in 10th grade for AP courses. However, IB courses are only for 11th and 12th grade students. So IB courses, we cannot bypass that. That's the IB diploma or IB school. That's their rules for those courses. But we can definitely have conversations about AP courses, as the years come. I'm trying to see here. Can you meet with your counselor before choosing your schedule? Yes, we will try to meet with parents and students, knowing obviously we'll be meeting with lots of students and parents via Zoom about the scheduling process. 9th grade scheduling is pretty, cut and dry. But if you do have some specific questions, please feel free to reach out, via email, and we can either have a phone conversation or discuss it over Zoom. But the other question was about if my student takes 4 years of a world language and band, choir, and orchestra, do they necessarily have to take PE and health? Depending on what your student takes, and honestly, going to a block schedule, more of our students will be able to take PE and health because it will open up room for those students who typically maybe that were in band for 4 years and a world language for 4 years may not have had the space. But with block scheduling, more students should be able to take PE and health. Of course, if your student is also taking a lot of upper level AP or IB courses or consortium. We have a lot of students who take consortium, and so we make that decision usually at the end of 11th grade, whether or not your student qualifies for what we call a personal curriculum, which means that they are taking other courses in other areas that we would be able to write a personal curriculum for the health and PE, so they would not take those courses.
Christy, can I, it looks like there's a couple of questions about block scheduling. Can I take a minute or two to talk about that?
Absolutely, thank you.
You guys mind? So there was a presentation that the high school administration made a couple of days ago to the board about the high school moving to a block schedule. I'll try to keep it simple, but please feel free to email me if you have any questions in particular. Or go maybe to the next board meeting. I think we'll have some further conversation, but in essence, the current schedule that we have at the high school right now, outside of hybrid, is a 6-period day. So students have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 every day. And they are able in that kind of a schedule to take 6 classes in one semester and then 6 classes in the next semester. Usually, it's the English 9A first semester, English 9B second semester. Some classes are 1 semester only, but that's typical for a freshman. A block schedule is significantly different, opens up more opportunities for students, but it is a different way than we've taught at the high school. It's not a lot different than kids have had prior to the high school. So the block schedule that we're looking at for the high school is called an AB block or an 8 block. There's different names for it. The way it would look, for example, is a student would come in on Monday, their A day, and they would have hours 1, 2, 3, and 4. The hours are about 90 minutes long. The next day would be Tuesday, the B day. The hours would be 5, 6, 7, and 8. Again, looks just like Monday, but different classes, about 90 minutes apiece. And then Wednesday is an A day, Thursday is a B day, and the schedule would rotate so that over the course of 2 weeks or 10 days, kids would go through an A, B, A, B, A, B, that repetition over the course of time. So students would have a class on a Monday, same teacher again on Wednesday, same teacher again on Thursday. Next week, it would be Tuesday. The block that we are at this point planning to run at the high school would look like that over and over and over again. Some schools run different schedules. There's lots of different ways that a block is run. That's the block that the high school is looking at right now. The big difference is that your students as freshmen would have the opportunity to take 8 classes in the first semester instead of 6. That opens up lots of opportunity for student personalization and choice. So students could take math, science, English, social studies, and a world language, play an instrument, and still take a PE course or take a health course or take another elective of their choice. So one of the major reasons we are looking at a block is so students can increase choice and personalization. We also think that it's better that students have a couple days to take their Monday classes and get ready for their classes again on Wednesday. You should be able to find quite a few things on our website, on the Dexter Schools website, as we've planned for that. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. We're all kind of in the process of going to this, so none of us are experts. Some of us have a little bit more experience than others. It will do nothing but benefit your students, though. It will give them more opportunities instead of fewer. And particularly by the time your students come in as 9th graders, their 11th and 12th grade years should just open up and allow them to do things that are very much personal to them, whether it be dual enrollment, consortium, AP or IB. They should have a lot of classes that'll be very much more like that college feel, where it'll feel like it's their schedule and not being locked into what school requires.
There's a couple questions about world language. One of them is, if your students have been taking a certain language for years and they carry a certificate, how does that transfer into world language credit? Here at the high school, there definitely is a way. I had a student who is from Russia. He tested out of Russian for year 1 and 2 of his high school requirements. Definitely took a lot of English classes to kind of get caught up in both languages. And so there is a way to do with a test out. There is another question about if my student is taking Spanish 1 right now down in Mill Creek, then take 2 more years at the high school, does that count for 3 years? As Mrs. Morrell referred to, like U of M would really like to see 3 years in the high school. So it's a strong suggestion from U of M that you are in high school seat classes for those other 3 years, not middle school. So that would potentially mean they would do Spanish 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, it's a strong recommendation from them. Is it going to break or make that decision? That's just something that you guys would have to discuss further if they're getting to the point where they got to decide if they want to take that 4th year of a world language or not.
And just to piggyback off of what Brandy's saying, I mean, colleges, U of M, other universities realize that, if a student, let's say, is a math science student, and instead of a language or, instead of the 4th year of a language, they are taking, AP or IB courses in math and science, colleges realize students do have to make choices. They can't take everything. So as long as a student can, explain to a college, well, I didn't take Spanish 4 because I wanted to get into these, AP science classes because I'm planning on going into engineering, then that obviously makes more sense that they take those, physics and those types of courses. So that's definitely an individual conversation we can have and what makes the most sense for your child's, career and college goals.
There are a few questions about block scheduling, and one of them is, does it change the length of the school day, and it does not. It'll be the same. We'll still be going to school from 8 to 3. And it sounds like the decision to go to block is not finalized. It's going to a vote soon, and we expect that it'll be finalized. So that's why we're asking for your students to request the 8 courses per semester.
I have a question here. Could you explain a bit about the IB curriculum and what is the difference between AP classes? So Mrs. Marsh is actually the IB coordinator, and she does a little expanded conference, so to speak, about the IB curriculum itself. It would take quite a bit of time, but it is an international program. And sometimes a little bit more challenging.
Can I jump in and just to add a couple, Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Both are rigorous programs. They are mainly available to our juniors and seniors. AP can be available, as we said, to some 10th graders. All of our 9th grade and 10th grade classes prepare students for getting ready for the IB in 11th and 12th grade. It does prepare them for AP. So those are for freshmen, things that should be on the horizon, but they shouldn't be a worry for them in 9th grade. If they're interested, they should do their very best and in 9th grade to take rigorous courses, and then they do well in their rigorous courses. That's the best way to get ready for AP and IB. But don't forget, for those people that are asking about AP in 9th grade, an AP course is a college level course. So the curriculum is difficult, it's demanding, it's very robust. IB is a similar approach, but it is again slightly different. Again, students might also take an IB course without being a full IB diploma student. If you check the website frequently, Ms. Marsh gives what are called DREAD scholar meetings. So I don't know if she's got to have some coming up the rest of this year. I'm not sure when, but.
Yes, I think she has information parent night coming up.
Okay, so look
About
for
the
DREAD
IB program.
Scholar on our calendar, or just email Ms. Marsh directly, marshd@dexterschools.org. She'll tell you when the next meeting is, and she can answer all those questions for you in detail.
And there's also a question about dual enrollment, which kind of is on the same lines as the AP IB courses. Typically, freshmen and sophomores have a lot of core classes that they have to take and get out of the way before they can open up avenues like the AB and IB classes. Dual enrollment's very similar to that. They can take classes at Washtenaw Community College or other community colleges in the area that they would like to earn credit for and put on their transcript. For example, my son, his senior year, took 2 English classes at WCC, and he earned his high school English credit and also started his college transcript. So that is something that will definitely open up to your kids. Probably around their sophomore year, they should start having that conversation with their counselors if they're interested in that.
There's a question about when students should meet with their counselors to ensure course selections meet the needs of their college aspirations. As Mrs. Doyle kind of talked about, Zello is the new college and career readiness program that we're going to be using. And in that program, it allows students to make their course selections and kind of plan out based on what careers and what their post-secondary plans are. And we typically meet with students. We try to meet with them once a year, and we ask students to make an appointment with us whenever they have questions about that. So Zello is going to help us with that so that students can research their college and career choices and plan their schedule at the same time to make sure that those things align. So as early as 9th grade, I would say, have your kiddo come talk to us.
There is a question, is the same amount of content covered each semester in the block versus a regular schedule? It seems like putting, 2 more classes on the kids' plate. So it's pretty close to the same minutes by the end of the year. The curriculum is going to be the same curriculum that we teach now. So if you're taking a biology class, the curriculum that needs to be taught by the end of the year will be taught in a block schedule. It's not going to be any different as far as what curriculum, how it's being taught, and how much is being taught will be different than a regular schedule.
There is a question about the IB program. I think the question is that 8th graders who might be interested in the IB program were told to take a language in 8th grade. And the reason for that is because when in 11th grade, when they take IB French or IB Spanish, they really are supposed to have 3 years of a language to be successful in the IB program. So that is why the recommendation Ms. Marsh talks about, starting in 8th grade so that they have Spanish 3 or French 3 completed by the time they would enter the IB program in their junior year. Those courses do, just to clear up, it sounds like maybe some misunderstanding. Their language courses that they take in 8th grade will go on their high school transcript. Same thing if they're bringing up a math credit, it will be listed on their high school transcript with a grade and they will receive credit. However, it won't be factored into their high school GPA because it was obviously taken at the middle school, but those credits are listed and colleges will see that.
There's a question about AP and science classes, particularly physics. It would make sense for a kiddo to take regular physics in 10th grade to have some background knowledge before they take the AP course. We do have AP Physics too. If you have a student who's highly motivated and loves physics, they could take physics in 10th grade, AP Physics in 11th grade, and AP Physics 2 in 12th grade. And again, with the block scheduling, there's a lot more room to put a lot of those other science electives that kiddos can't take now because there's just not enough hours.
Sometimes the students who are recommended for AP Physics, which is very few students that are recommended for AP Physics in 10th grade, those are students who are usually advanced in their math courses. So that's why that sometimes, is allowed. Once again, that can be a discussion between the math and science teachers and, parents, students, counselors. We can talk about whether that's an appropriate step.
There have been kiddos that have taken AP Physics concurrently with Algebra 2, and those students do struggle in AP Physics. So getting through Algebra 2 prior to taking AP Physics is definitely key.
I know there was a question in the chat and I kind of answered it typing it in, but there was a question about what's the difference between, for example, varsity band, concert band, symphonic band, choir, orchestra, the same thing. There's different levels, and there will be a spring audition that your son or daughter will have to do in order to be placed in one of those selections for which level that they are at. Our high school teachers will do those auditions with the students, and then they will give us the recommendations, and then we will put it in their schedule. So if they register for the wrong one, don't worry about it. They do not have to do anything. We will go back in on the backside and make that change for them. And then there was also a question about a student that has an IEP, and if there was anything different that they had to do as far as course selection, there is not. They would register just like everybody else. Again, if they have an academic support time in their schedule due to their IEP eligibility, then we will go back in on the backside and make that change for them and get rid of one of the elective choices to put that academic support time in there. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes. Oh, wait, one popped up. For orchestra, doesn't matter what they pick right now. No, it doesn't matter what they pick right now. Typically, we have them pick the first one, And then we would go back and change it if it's not where they were placed.
Make sure they do pick one though, because sometimes we have kiddos that don't pick it and then they audition and we don't know whether they don't want it or, so if they intend on taking it, just put one in.
And there, you can go back, as long as you make your changes before March 15th, say the students submit one on March 1st, they go back and go, no, I really want to take this again. They can go back into their Power School, make that change, and then resubmit. And it will take the last submission, but it has to be in by the 15th.
If they want something changed after the 15th, have them email their counselor, or you can email one of us and we can make that change. And then who will contact the kids about choir auditions next year? I believe their choir teacher this year will let them know when those happen.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Once again, this will be posted to the counseling website. The student presentation is already up. And we did also post the course registration sheet. And